Huge community watch increase raising officials' eyebrows. 1,339 holes in one this year at the executive golf courses in the villages. CDD 13 supervisor questions the increase in PWAC expense. Unlicensed contractor allegedly rips off villager for $29,000. $20 million renovation at Paradise Recreation Center to include a resort-style swimming pool. Chicago investor scoops up development offering families proximity to the villages. Villager arrested on a tree trimming incident. Villager's daughter arrested after crashing into pole at popular restaurant. PWAC portion of Community Watch expenses to reach nearly $6 million. How frequently are IDs being checked at the village's swimming pools? CDD2 residents will be paying higher maintenance assessments rate next year. A villager's daughter will remain behind bars after flunking drug test. This and more coming up. An increase of more than $1 million in the Amenity Authority Committee's share of the Community Watch budget is raising eyebrows. The AAC's shares of the Community Watch budget for 2023-24 will be $3.592 million. The AAC's portion of the Community Watch budget in 22 and 23 was $2.47 million. The entire cost of the Community Watch in the villages for the fiscal year will be $11.872 million. The cost is shared by the project-wide advisory committee and the developer who is collecting amenity fees from residents south of State Road 44. The AAC provides amenities north of County Road 466, and PWAC oversees amenities between County Road 466 and State Road 44. The increase in the cost of Community Watch caused concern Wednesday as the AAC was reviewing its budget for the coming fiscal year. Are there ways to provide the services Community Watch provides in a more cost-effective way? Yes. Let me tell you how to do it. First of all, ask an old trucker that used to run a trucking company, because in trucking, the biggest expenses in trucking 100 times more than what you do. But basically, you're both doing the same thing, aren't you? Ask somebody that used to run a trucking company. They can show you how to cut your budget. By the way, not me. There have been 1,339 holes in one recorded so far this year at executive courses in the villages. There have been 1.3 million rounds of golf thus far in 2023 played at executive courses, according to the Director of Executive Golf, Mitch Leninger, who reported the figures on Wednesday to Amenity Authority Committee and the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors. This busy activity is taking place while 4 courses are currently closed for renovation. They are Churchill Greens, Briarwood, Belmont, Hilltop. The Pelican Executive Courses is scheduled to reopen Friday after a period of rest and rehabilitation. In addition, new shade-tolerant turf has been incorporated at Pelican's number 6 green. When the snowbirds go home, these courses are played so hard in the wintertime, they are almost, well, they are. There's a few courses and holes here that turn into a mud pit, and they're just totally destroyed, and they're just unplayable. So these courses, after the snowbirds go home, need a lot of renovation and rest. Just let the grass grow. A Community Development District 13 supervisor is questioning the increase in the expense for the project-wide advisory committee. CDD 13 supervisor reviewed their budget for 2023-24 fiscal year during a meeting Thursday morning at Everglades Rec Center. Next year's CDD 13 operating budget will be $4.068 million, representing an increase of $238,601 or 6% over the previous year. Most of that is due to CDD 13's rising tab for membership in PWAC. The PWAC budget for next year has swollen to $20.756 million. An unlicensed contractor has been arrested after allegedly ripping off a villager to the tune of $29,000 in a kitchen renovation. Paul Anthony Floramo, 68, of Summerfield, was arrested this week on a Sumter County warrant charging him with contracting without a license. He was taken into custody by Marion County Sheriff's Deputy at the Mulberry Grove Recreation Center. A Village of Rio Grande woman had hired Floriamo's company kitchen and bath studios of Ocala to remodel her kitchen according to the investigative report from the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation. However, it was later discovered that Floriamo nor his company ever pulled permits with Sumter County for the plumbing or electrical work. In addition, the investigator found that Floriamo's company was not properly licensed with the state. He must be a village resident to be at the Mulberry Grove Recreation Center. The villager had paid Floriamo a total of $29,000. In response to the investigative report, Floriamo claimed he has not been part of the company for the past 2 years due to his health issues. He said he had a complete liver transplant. He dismissed the woman's complaint about the work and said it was basically a cabinet replacement project with no major construction. Floriamo also said that Kitchen and Bath Studio has filed for bankruptcy, but blamed the bankruptcy on a clerical error by the bank. Floriamo is free on a $500 bond. Well, it doesn't make any difference if they filed bankruptcy. If this woman's complaint was not mentioned on that bankruptcy, guess what? See you in court. Residents living near Sawgrass Grove are insisting that the dangerous crossing must be modified to avoid a tragedy. Good luck. They've been having a problem up north at Spanish Springs and Morris Boulevard. People's been killed up there, and they're still not getting anything done. Villager Mike Roberts, representing residents from the village of Cason Hammock and the village of Citrus Grove, on Thursday morning told members of the Community Development District 13 Board of Supervisors the residents will not back down until a change is made on Megason Road, which they contend has become a dangerous speeding zone with heavy traffic. Residents say the problem is that the multimodal path that crosses Megason Road is abnormally far from the gate, giving motorists a chance to build up some speed before reaching the crossing, which is otherwise unprotected. We believe that the majority of the 5 county commissioners believe the crossing must be modified. It is the responsibility of our public officials to find a solution, and if they don't, vote them out. He said the voices of the residents have been heard when concerns were raised about golf carts destroying the grass at the Sawgrass Grove Market. Yeah, that's because that's the developer's property. We'll take care of that. It got changed, Roberts said. He said residents has formed an ad hoc committee to keep a focus on the Megason Road issue. I got an answer for you, but it ain't going to get done. Tell them to put a man gate up there. Wildwood Commission approved it. So, yeah, take your arguments to Wildwood Commission. The $20 million renovation at Paradise Recreation Center will include a resort-style pool. The Paradise renovation project was discussed Wednesday by the Amenity Authority Committee, which is funding the project. A recent survey in which residents from throughout the villages were encouraged to participate strongly favored a resort-style pool. However, many residents of the historic side of the villages said they prefer to have a more traditional pool, such as the one currently in place. That's what people said they want, said AAC Chair Donna Kempa. She pointed out that the Paradise Recreation Center is intended for use by all residents of the villages. This is something that happens around here very rarely. Most people understand, but it does get territorial sometimes where people will ask other people, why did you come down to our pool when you have a pool of your own down there? Listen, the villages is open to all village residents, all. I used to go up to the historic site up there because that's the only place you can go where they've got a hot tub. They don't have them anywhere else. They decided, I guess it was too expensive to have one, I guess. I don't know. A retirement community with 140,000 residents, and none of our pools, even the priority pools that you got to pay membership to, don't have a hot tub. Go figure. A Chicago investment firm has scooped up a new development offering families proximity to the villages. Blue Vista Capital Management has announced the close of its acquisition of the Keys at Wildwood, a 190-unit horizontal build-to-rent development in Oxford. The project is located west of 301, north of Oxford, Assembly of God, and near County Road 203. Each unit will offer an open floor plan with a full dining, kitchen, and living area with high-end finishes, in-unit laundry, private patios, and dedicated parking spots. All units will feature 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The design offers a Key West type feeling. A U of Health, the village's hospital patient stole a medical transport van after she was discharged. Margaret Mary Matsky, 57 in Summerfield, was uncooperative when she was discharged from the hospital late Thursday night, according to the arrest report. She climbed behind the wheel of a medical transport van and drove it out of the hospital's parking lot. Deputies found the stolen van that parked in a handicap spot in a nearby Wawa convenience store. Matsky was smoking a cigarette with other smokers gathered at the Wawa outdoor picnic tables. Oh, these people, I swear. So you're telling me she stole a van because she had a nicotine fit? She was arrested after she was placed in the back of a patrol car. Maskey was able to get one of her hands free. She began banging on the squad car. Deputies removed her from the car and attempted to place her in a restraint vest. She stomped on a deputy's foot. Ouch. During the ride into the Sumter County Detention Center, Maskey made several explicit sexual remarks, racial remarks, and stated several times she was going to find me and kill me, the deputy wrote in his report. Maskey is facing charges of theft of a motor vehicle, battery on a law enforcement officer, intimidation, and resisting arrest. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $13,000 bond. Some of these people around here are just nuts. A villager has been arrested after trimming her neighbor's trees in an ongoing dispute that has prompted multiple calls to law enforcement. Janice Frances McKee, 78, was arrested on charges of criminal mischief and trespassing Thursday evening at her home at 1301 Fontana Court in the village of Hacienda East. The neighbor told Sumter County's deputies that the Buffalo, New York native came onto his property and began cutting his tree down with tree loppers. He said McKee had entirely cut down another peach tree that previous day. That tree was very close to their property line, so there was no arrest made that day. However, the tree that McKinney was trimming on Thursday was 19 feet away from the property line. The neighbor had a photo of McKee on his property, and next to the tree was tree loppers and a garbage can, according to the rescue part. Well, she was cleaning it up. McKee had been issued trespass warnings on May 20th and June 1st, warning her to stay off her neighbor's property. The report noted that deputies have been called to the two residents 5 times since May 20. McKee and her husband purchased a home in 2016 for $258,000. He died 1 year later. McKee was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,000 bond. I laugh, not at this, even though it's kind of funny. When some people get to a certain age, they just don't care. They just don't care. You can't do anything to them anymore than what God's already done to them. That's how they feel about it. My dad was this way. So I laugh at this because this brings back some fond, funny memories of my dad. A dirty driveway at a dead villager's home prompted a public hearing Friday morning at Savannah Center. The home at 1705 Bertrillo Court in the village of Alhambra was the subject of a hearing before the Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors. The home was purchased in 1999 by Julie Grimalgia and her husband. She became the sole owner of the home in 2005. She is now deceased. The home has a reverse mortgage and the utilities have been shut off. The complaint was received April the 10th by community standards about mold on the driveway and walkway, as well as dead grass and overgrown weeds. Reverse mortgages can be a problem here. You don't really hear about it that much, but it does pop up once in a while, and here's another one. So be very careful about reverse mortgages and your property after you die if you intend to stay here until you're dead. Leave somebody in control, I guess. I don't know what to do about that. I have no specific answers, but reverse mortgages can be a problem. Here's the thing I want to mention, the black mold in a driveway. Notice the driveway is just plain concrete. People ask, why do people paint their driveways down there? Why do they put in brick pavers and all these things? It seems like, in my situation anyway, I have this is my second home, and I've done this to both of them. If you at least paint your driveway with some kind of a design, there's no more mold issue. I don't know why. I just know what results are. And so I had mine painted, and since I've been here full time, I have had no mold ever in my driveway growing. And so that's why I do it. And I suggest that if you're not going to have your driveway cleaned, power washed at least once a year, every year, then you're going to have this problem. So, if you got a couple of bucks, get it painted. Call Romaldo or somebody and get it painted and get some kind of design in there, and then you won't have this issue. So if something happens to you, the neighbors won't have to deal with it. Community Development District 3 supervisors have promised that the days of forgiving fines in deed compliance cases has come to an end. CDD 3 supervisors on Friday morning in a meeting at Savannah Center reviewed a list of ongoing deed compliance cases and took note of some of the expenses accumulations of unpaid fines. I made suggestions years ago. I don't understand why this is a problem, because years ago, if we could put a mechanic's lien on a house, don't pay the bill, there's a mechanic's lien on your house. I'd done this a couple of times when I had my semi-truck company. owner-operators would come in to get something done. And it's not unusual to work on any semi-truck, especially engine work. It can get into the thousands of dollars real quick. And then we trusted them to make monthly payments or something. I trusted them. I didn't have to, but I did because I knew the guys. They didn't pay. And I was forced, basically, I went up and put a mechanics lien. A home at 748 Artesia Avenue in the village of Summerhill has racked up a $29,300 bill and has been out of compliance since 2021. The home is under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. I don't like HUD. A dead couple's home at 3288 Shelby Street in the village of Summerhill has been a problem for years and is also a HUD house. The property now carries with it a $31,250 in deed compliance fines. That's considerable. In past years, many CDDs felt they had no option but to forgive fines in cases in which it seems they were uncollectible. However, District Council Mark Briones has been working for many months to tighten up the process. Attaching liens to homes has already begun to yield positive results. There you go. That's like, to me, this is common sense. We want residents to know the days of forgiving fines is over, said CDD 3 Supervisor Gail Lazenby. There you go. Now you're moving in the right direction. A villager was arrested after a poking incident at Lake Sumter Landing Market Square. Christopher William Munsell, 69, who lives at the Lakeshore Cottages, is facing a felony charge of battery following his arrest Thursday night by Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The Buffalo, New York native was at the square between 6 and 7:45 p.m. and was apparently intoxicated, according to the arrest report. He had gotten into verbal arguments with other people at the square. He was ordered to leave by a member of the special events staff. Shortly before 8 p.m., Munsell returned to the square and used his finger to poke the chest of the 73-year-old special events staff agent. That's a no-no. Munsell was arrested on a felony charge of battery on a person over the age of 65. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,000 bond. Depending on not whether you're actually charged with all these things, first of all, felony charge. If you don't know what repercussions happen on a felony charge, you need to check because there's different levels, felony 1, felony 2, so on and so forth. There's usually repercussions of a felony charge if you're charged. 2, person over the age of 65. That's usually a higher fine because they protect their retirees here because the second biggest income next to tourism that Florida has is retirees. We buy property here, we spend money here, and we generally transfer our bank accounts and our retirement funds and all that stuff here. So they're very protective of their retirement community here, which I'm glad they are. A Village of Hacienda resident has been ordered to remove illicit landscaping at her home. The home of William Calabrese at 1302 Corona Avenue was the subject of a public hearing Friday morning before Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. A complaint was lodged March 2nd with community standards for the landscaping, which was put in without the approval of Architectural Review Committee. Community standards paid a visit to the home and found the landscaping bed is located next to the driveway and in the road right-of-way. The board granted Calabrese 15 days to bring the home into compliance. If he fails to do so, he will face an immediate $150 fine, followed by $50 daily fines. Calabrese was also found to have put down landscaping in 2017 without ARC approval. He purchased the home in 2007 for $206,000. Well, $206,000 in 2007, that must be a really nice home. Today, that home's probably doubled in price. The daughter of a couple in the Villages was arrested after crashing into a pole at a popular restaurant. Michelle Meredith Kohler, 48, who lives with her parents in the Belmont Villas in the village of Belvedere, was driving a black Honda Accord at about 9:30 p.m. Thursday at Bonefish Grill when she crashed into a pole, causing the pole to break and fall. An open bottle of wine was found in the car. Kohler had a strong odor of alcoholic beverage emitting from her breath as she spoke. A New York native agreed to participate in field sobriety exercises, but claimed she suffered from vertigo. She struggled through exercises. She provided breath samples that registered 0.230 blood alcohol content. Kohler was arrested in 2021. She was living in an apartment in Lady Lake, made a threat against the deputy's family when she was being driven to the Sumter County Detention Center. She was arrested on charges of driving under the influence and making a threat against a public servant or family. She was booked at the jail and released after posting a $6,000 bond. Kohler had also been arrested in 2017 in the village of Belvedere. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Suspicious officials are balking at a contractor's demand for more money for pond maintenance in villages. Supervisors in Community Development District 1 through 4 were informed in meeting on Friday that Solitude Lake Management LLC wants a $15 per acre per month increase to maintain aquatic weed control in the water retention basins. Solitude is seeking to increase throughout the villages, and other CDDs will be discussing their increases. CDD4 supervisors staring down the barrel of the maintenance assessment increase for its residents flat out refused to approve Solitude's request for more money. They will revisit the pond maintenance subject next month. CDD4 has 38.91 acres of water retention basins, and the current contracts call for $35 per acre for Solitude. The increase would push it to $50 per acre. It would cost CDD4 an additional $7,000 on top of the $16,342 to be spent on pond maintenance. What you could do, and this is just my simple thoughts, put it up for bids. A project-wide advisory committee portion of the expense for Community Watch is expected to reach nearly $6 million. PWAC members will review the preliminary budget for the amenities fund for fiscal year 2023-24 when they meet at 8:30 a.m. Monday at Seabreeze Recreation Center. The PWAC amenities budget is set to increase by 11% from $91 million to $94.305 million. PWAC portion of the budget of Community Watch is expected to swell to $5.9 million, up from $4.2 million the previous fiscal year. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett said increases in the minimum wage are driving most of the higher cost in the Community Watch budget. In addition, Community Watch will be adding 26,000 hours in new positions for a total of $800,000. Well, we'll see how that turns out. There was a bit of bad news this week for residents using the temporary postal facility in the villages. The new postal facility at the former home of Hacienda Hills Country Club will not be ready for use until December. There had been some hope the new postal station would have been available for use as early as September. Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett made the announcement at this past meeting at the Amenity Authority Committee. That means frustrated residents will continue to rely on a temporary trailer that has been set up at the former country club, which was torn down in 2020. The arrangement has been a burden for residents who have complained about slippery ramps and remain concerned about the en route golf cart traffic around the site of Morris Boulevard, where traffic is already a major cause of concern. Community Watch continues to distribute mail to residents at the temporary facility. The Recreation and Parks Department has set standards for checking ID cards at the village's swimming pools that fall under its purview. This is our old buddy Rohan. Individuals are not asked to get out of the swimming pools or stop play in order to check IDs unless they do not meet the age requirements. How do you know that? I mean, what do you do? Look at somebody, go, they don't look like the right age. I tell you what, I've seen some 70-year-old people here that look like they're 50. I mean, they look that good. Unless they don't meet the right age or are reported by a resident for not meeting the resident guest eligibility standards. How would they know? Each activity or program will be checked a minimum of Each activity or program will be checked a minimum of once a week. Water, volleyball, exercise class, combo swim, and lap swim. Recreation staff check these pools upon opening each morning and closing each evening. Then at various times each day or more if staff is available. This is a minimum of 3 times daily, once between 7 a.m. and noon to 5 p.m. to close. Community Watch checks at least 2 neighborhood pools every afternoon and rotates the pools they check so they all checked at least once every 4 days. Now, I don't know this, but are they saying Community Watch now has card readers? I do know a few people that work there. I'm going to check and find out because I have never heard of that. I think that line there is a little misleading. Family pools checked a minimum of 3 times daily, once each between the hours of 7 a.m. and noon, noon to 5, and 5 to close. They could do a lot better job than what they're doing. And the truth is, they don't even need people to check IDs if they would just change a few things around here. I've been to a lot of retirement communities as a guest of people I know there, and they're set up the same way we are, except you don't need this card, and outside people cannot get in there. I'm just telling you, man, I mean, there's a better way of doing it. A villager has surrendered his gun in a plea deal after pointing the weapon at another man during an argument. Donald Theodore Schlesingberg, 75, of the village of Duval, will avoid prosecution on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and battery. In addition to giving up his gun, he must complete a firearm owner's safety class as part of the pretrial intervention contract approved this past week in Sumter County Court. Schlesingberg was taken into custody January 13th at his home at 1532 Blueberry Way. A man called 911, and he went to Schlesingberg's home, tried to settle a dispute they were having over money, according to the arrest report. Schlesingberg convinced the other man to enter the home, although they had previously agreed to meet outside. Once inside the home, Schlesingberg began yelling at him and hit him in the face. Schlesingberg pointed a gun at the man, fled the house, and called law enforcement. Schlesingberg claimed he had pointed the gun in self-defense. Did you expect any of this in a retirement community? I ask you. A villager got a break in court after attacking a Sumter County Sheriff's deputy earlier this year at a City Fire restaurant in the Villages. You should not give anybody a break for attacking a law enforcement officer. This is some of the problems that we have, not just here, but in the nation, when you do that. It gives no respect to law enforcement officers when a judge does this. Carrie Lee Perrine, who lives at Sunbury in the village of Glenbrook, at about 9 p.m. January 9, was very intoxicated and seated at a chair near the bar at the restaurant on Lake Sumter Landing, according to the arrest report. He had been asked to leave by City Fire staff, but had refused to do so. A deputy arrived, but Perrine continued to act in a belligerent manner and called the deputy names. Perrine proceeded to push the deputy in the chest. In my book, that's it. You're down, you're arrested, you're going in, no bond until you see the judge. The judge ought to take a really strict action to this. The deputy took Perrine to the floor. Perrine was taken to UF Health, the village's hospital, and after he was medically cleared, the deputy was transporting him in the back of the squad car to the Sumter County Detention Center when Perrine began kicking the rear of the passenger side door. The deputy pulled over in the parking lot of CVS Pharmacy on US 301 and State Road 44 in the Wildwood area. The deputy opened the door and told Perrine to stop kicking it. Perrine responded by kicking the deputy in the chest. He inflicted $500 worth of damage to the door. He was arrested on charges of battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, and criminal damage on the property. However, this past week in Sumter County, Perrine was sentenced after the prosecutor's office chose not to pursue the charges of battery on a law enforcement officer and criminal damage to property. He pleaded no contest to the lone charge of resisting arrest and has been placed on probation for 2 years. Either that's a plea deal, but it doesn't say that. A villager's daughter remains behind bars after flunking a drug test. Jennifer Denise Williams, 48, who lives with her mother in the village of Largo, continued to be held without bond this weekend at the Sumter County Detention Center. She is charged with violating her probation. She got arrested before. Williams was born in the Philippines, was sentenced on a charge of prescription fraud in 2019. She submitted to a urine test in May, was revealed that she had cocaine in her system. Williams has been working at the KFC restaurant at Buffalo Ridge Plaza in the Villages, is permitted to use medical marijuana, but the random screening showed that she associated with an unnamed individual and she smoked marijuana that contained cocaine, according to the Department of Corrections warrant on file in Sumter County. Williams had been placed on probation after she phoned in and tried to pick up a bogus prescription at Publix at Southern Trace Plaza in the Villages. Community Development District 2 residents will be paying a higher maintenance assessment rate next year. DD2 supervisor on Friday at a meeting at Savannah Center approved a preliminary budget that calls for a 10% increase in the maintenance assessment paid by residents. That works out to an annual average increase of about $40 per year, although it's higher for owners of premier homes and less for villa owners. To determine how much you will be paying, check out this chart. Oh no, CDD2 10% increase chart. A large portion of the budget is devoted to flowers, landscaping, and irrigation. CDD2's $1.389 million budget is scheduled for final approval in a hearing set for 9:30 a.m. September 8th at Savannah Center. If you don't like it, be there. District officials point out that the maintenance assessment appears annually on residents' tax bills. It is not to be confused with amenity fees. The director of Recreation Department is trying to dispel an urban myth about swimming pools in Florida's friendliest hometown. Project-wide advisory committee member Steve Bova on Monday raised concerns he has heard from residents about non-residents using the pools in the villages. I think we're going to need to tighten up process, Bova said. He pointed to the Lakewood Ranch and said he discovered that the community uses special key fobs for residents to access amenities such as swimming pools. There is a better way. They're finally looking. I've seen in 50 retirement communities that I've been to, I've probably seen a good dozen better ways than what we're doing. And it protects the amenities from damages and overuse, and it protects the residents using those amenities. He said that when IDs are about to be checked at the pools in the villages, everybody jumps in the pool, making them exempt from having to show an ID, per the village's Recreation Department policy. It's not a law, it's just a policy. Recreation Director John Rohan, my buddy, was quick to label that oft-repeated story about urban myth. It's hard to imagine people suddenly dropping their books and iPods and jumping into pools. He said violations at the swimming pools are not as common as residents seem to think, and most of those violations are easily explained. It's usually a resident bringing their family from a neighboring community. I'll go along with that. He said nabbing violators is a community effort. In other words, this is what I tried to tell you a few months ago when I talked to him. He said he depends on the residents here to police these things. Can you imagine the fights you're going to get into when you go up to somebody and say, hey, you're not allowed to be here, and they get back in your face? If you witness an ineligible person at the pool, use the courtesy phone to report it. In other words, they're not going to do anything. That's what he's telling you. He's passing the buck. This is what the villages and people working for the villages do the best. They pass the buck. They don't want... Keith Stevens of the village of Casson Hammock brought his Megas road traffic concerns Monday to the Wildwood City Commission. Good for you. That's what you're going to have to do. Area residents say the roadway is unsafe, where golf carts must merge with cars about 200 feet east of the entry gates of the village of Citrus Grove. We see this as an exceptional safety issue. We foresee we're going to have an accident because of that area. We've not had any fatalities or serious injuries so far. He said a bicycle was struck in an accident and there's no safe place for pedestrians to step onto the road. Stevens thanked the Wildwood Police Department for enforcing speed limits on the road. He said the problem likely will get worse when the Bexley Bridge is completed across the turnpike to the Eastport neighborhood and now under construction. Oh, yes, it will. The issue falls under multiple jurisdictions, including Sumter County Community Development District 13, the village's district government, and Wildwood. City Manager Jason McHugh said he is working with the county administrator, Bradley Arnold, and others to explore solutions. It definitely can be a dangerous situation when you have golf carts, pedestrians, and cars coming together. Two county commissioners said they have parked nearby to study the problem and found many golf carts and bicyclists ignore the stop sign where they must leave the cart path and go onto the road. Well, I'm shocked. In a recent letter to villagesnews.com, Citrus Grove resident Mike Gratton suggested the path be open to Rudel Way, which would allow golf carts to join the road further from the gates. Listen up, all you grandparents out there of grandchildren that like to come down here and drive golf carts. The law is going to change. The villages will be updating its guidance on 14-year-olds and golf carts in connection with a new state law. Attorney Kevin Stone, who serves as counsel for the top government boards in the villages, said Monday new guidance will be offered for residents prior to the new state law taking effect on October the 1st. He indicated that guidance will likely be offered through the district office's website. Under the new bill signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis, teens won't be able to drive golf carts without proper identification. According to Bill HB 949, golf cart drivers under 18 must be at least 15 with a learner's permit or 16 with a driver's license. Anyone who is 18 or older must have a valid government-issued ID. Currently, Florida law allows a 14-year-old to drive a golf cart. At first glance, many thought the new law would not impact villages because the multimodal paths are private thoroughfares and would be exempt. However, Stone pointed out that the routes of the multimodal paths intersect with roads and crossover streets where the new law will be applicable. In addition, while villa roads are also private roads, the roads that might need to be assessed by a 14-year-old golf cart driver to reach a villa may also be subject to the new law. So anyway, I hope that helps everybody when it comes to driving a golf cart. The 14-year-old law is going to go away. I knew this was coming. It was just a matter of time. I see more things coming around the bend. I'll try to keep you posted on this stuff the best that I can, but you have to watch. If you don't watch, you're not going to know. Remember, we do Wednesday porch setting at noon, and you're more than welcome to come. We look forward to you to come. You can chat in the chat box there with everybody, the comment section. You can talk to the people that's there. It's getting bigger and bigger. We're enjoying it. I'll see you guys on the other side.
And don't leave your keys in the golf cart.